This past Monday on September 16th, I went and saw the new plant-based documentary, The Game Changers. And since you know I'm a huge advocate of the plant-based diet, I was, of course, very excited about the release of this film, so I thought I'd share with you the highlights and what I liked and didn't like so much about it. How's it going, everybody? I'm Ryan from Minus the Gym, and this is going to be my review of The Game Changers. And I just want to mention right up front for anyone new to my channel that this will be a biased review because I do eat a very plant-centric diet. So let's start with the highlights. Okay, what I thought were the highlights of this film mainly were the testimonies from all the people. And the producers of the film and the creator, James Wilks, I think they did a good job picking a huge variety of athletes. We're talking about Olympic cyclists, Olympic sprinters, Olympic weightlifters, bodybuilders, you have boxers, MMA fighters, and they get anecdotal evidence from all these different athletes, and I find that to be really powerful. I thought that was an awesome highlight of the film, because when you just throw a bunch of scientific literature at people, I mean, it's good, people want to see the science and understand it, but too much of it can get a little boring. And also, you know, aside from that, people can nitpick and try to find flaws in that research, and even sometimes just fabricate reasons why the research is invalid. But instead, when you have testimonials from people who are clearly excelling at what they do, like they're champions in their sport, and they are saying that the diet that they eat is making them feel really good and have lots of energy and strength and power, and the results prove it, that to me is really powerful evidence. One of the athletes that they kind of put under a spotlight is Patrik Baboumian, and he's gotten a lot of flack recently since people found out he was going to be in this film, but I think that's to be expected. And I was shocked when I saw Patrik in this movie. I never realized how strong he is. I mean, it's really crazy. One of my favorite parts in the film is just this really quick clip of Patrik Baboumian. He actually lifts up an 80-kilogram dumbbell. This is a massive dumbbell, okay? And in pounds, I think that's like 175 pounds or something like that. But he puts the dumbbell on his chest and then does a single arm overhead press with it. All right, single arm overhead press with 80 kilograms. That, I don't care what kind of diet you eat, that's just impressive. He also flips a car, breaks a world record, and all kinds of other stuff. And of course, the creators of the film are emphasizing that he's doing all of this on a plant-based diet. But there were so many other highlights, I couldn't possibly name them all. They interviewed an archaeologist who talks about how the whole paleo diet doesn't really make sense because Paleolithic humans actually ate tons of vegetation. There was very little animal-based foods in their diet. And archaeologists, right, experts from like Harvard, are saying this now. So it's very powerful information. They also talk about human evolution quite a bit and how our anatomy is clearly designed for seeking out colorful plant-based foods as opposed to hunting animal-based foods. And they do a good job explaining why the whole protein thing, like protein having to come from animals, is just a huge myth. Now, I could keep going on and on about all the highlights of the film, all the parts that I enjoyed, but I don't want to spoil all the good parts for you. So instead now I'm going to talk about things that I liked about the film, and then I'll tell you about some of the things I didn't like so much. One of my favorite aspects of this film really is just how well the production is, okay? They clearly had writers and directors who knew what they were doing because it's a very fast-paced documentary that holds your interest. Another thing I really liked about it was that the creator of the film, James Wilks, who's an ex-UFC fighter, tells his whole story from his childhood all the way up to his injury in the UFC that set him back. He was out for 6 months and he started researching nutrition and how he could speed up his recovery, and how that led him down the rabbit hole of nutrition and finding the plant-based diet. So that was really good too. I didn't expect to get so much of Wilks's backstory and for him to be like the main narrator and everything, but it actually worked out really well. And I thought it was a really cool aspect of the film. Another thing was there's a lot of humor throughout the movie, but one of the most humorous parts that got the most laughter out of the crowd in the theater was when a world-renowned urologist named Dr. Aaron Spitz, who actually wrote the book about penises, okay? Literally, he wrote a book called The Penis Book, which is pretty funny. That alone I found humorous, but then they do this whole experiment with these college-aged athletes, 3 of them. I won't go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil anything for you, but we'll just say that they do a little experiment that provides some evidence to back up the fact that plant-based eating really helps erectile dysfunction. So yeah, there's humor in the movie, actually a lot more than I expected, and it's paced well. It's kind of just peppered throughout the movie where you don't really get bored at any point. It doesn't get too serious. You know, you're laughing periodically, and that really helps. One of the things I didn't like was the often lack of scientific literature being presented. And I know that contradicts some of the things I said earlier, but it really is a double-edged sword, right? If you give too much scientific data, then the movie starts to get boring and dry, and it's hard to pay attention the whole time. You just get kind of tired of it. But on the same note, if you make some big, bold claims about nutrition and then you don't show the scientific literature backing up your claims, then a lot of people are going to play the skeptic card and say, where's the literature? Where's the scientific data? One example that I remember is when they mentioned all the different components of animal-based foods, and heme iron is one of them. They said heme iron causes inflammation in the body, and they just left it at that and moved on. There was no evidence or scientific literature shown to back that up. And you know, I know from reading this literature before seeing the movie and just in the past that heme iron is more readily absorbed by the body, which sounds like a good thing, but iron being a pro-oxidant, if you don't regulate the absorption of it, it could lead to oxidative stress or inflammation. So I saw that and I knew what they're talking about, but your average person just watching this documentary out of curiosity about the plant-based diet, they're not gonna know why heme iron can cause inflammation in the body. They're gonna be skeptical about it. So that was just one of the things I felt like the creators of the film could have done a better job with, is every time they made a claim that would cause any avid meat eater to call BS, provide some scientific information backing that up, just so there's less of an argument and so they can see that we're not just making things up here, that this is legit science. Overall though, I really enjoyed the movie, and I know I'm coming from a very biased perspective because I eat a plant-based diet, but I just have to say that if you're on the fence, like if you're curious about eating this way, or maybe you really do like eating this way and you just wanna see a movie that reinforces that even more, then The Game Changers is awesome. I highly recommend it. If you are an avid meat eater, right, an omnivore, or maybe you're doing the carnivore diet, then I don't recommend this movie at all. It's just gonna drive you crazy, it's gonna make you angry, and then you're gonna come leaving angry comments on this video. Okay, just wanna get an extra video out there this week after I saw the film, so I hope you enjoy this. If you did, please drop a like, that really helps me out. And if you're new to Minus the Gym, if you're just stumbling on this video, my channel is all about healthy eating and how to stay fit at home, right? I do a lot of calisthenics-based exercise at home and outdoors. So if that sounds cool to you, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.